Chapter 5. A Good Nap. When Miuko arrived at the guest house, near tears and spattered with mud, her father did not ask questions. Going in the way of pigeons and concerned parents, he dropped his cane and embraced her in the front garden, among the camellias. "My poor daughter," he muttered into her tangled hair. "Please forgive me. I would have gone to look for you myself, but the Doro. And then there was also—" He hesitated, as if he were not sure how to continue. Being rather beside herself at this point, Miuko did not notice. If the Doro Yagra, who, it seemed, had appeared simply as the Doro to her father and the other villagers, had stopped at the guest house, it would not have been possible for her father to turn him away. He was, after all, a man of the serving class. His purpose was to serve. He could have no more refused a guest like the Omaizi Ruhai than flown upon the wind like a cloud spirit. That he'd asked the others to search, that he was safe, and that he was happy to see her, these things were more than enough for Miuko. "You're my only father," she said. "All is already forgiven." He released her with a fond smile. "What a night you must have had! What happened, my dear?" Miuko opened her mouth to reply, but to her surprise, she discovered that for the first time in her life, she did not have anything to say. Having survived, in the past 12 hours, encounters with demons, children, and the one lugubrious priest, she had neither the energy to explain nor the wits to determine where to begin. "I'm sorry to have worried you, father," she whispered. "We both had some excitement last night, it seems. We can exchange stories when you've rested." Picking up his cane, he gestured her toward the back of the inn, where the cedar tubs were. "Let me heat you a bath. Have you eaten? While you wash, I can fix you something. How about—" Weary though she was, Miuko tiptoed carefully around the patches of moss in the path, making her limping gait even more awkward. Her father paused. "You're hurt?" "Not very," she admitted truthfully, for the swelling seemed to be abating and the pain was not much. He chuckled and offered her his arm. "What a pair we make! Si paisha, si chirei." Like father, like daughter. Gently, he helped her to the porch of the bath, where he lit a fire beneath the tub, talking of the Doro and the silkworm farmer who had departed for the capital together shortly after dawn. Only half listening, Miuko stared at her dirty toes. Yagra, Lido had called her, and Xiaoha. She was no demon, of that she was certain. Being a demon would surely feel different somehow, like a stomachache or a gallop upon a horse. Since walking on the riverbank that morning, however, all she'd felt like was herself. Too loud, too impatient, out of place everywhere except at her father's inn. But that blue spot. Perhaps it wasn't the mark of a demon, but the mark of a god. Indigo, after all, was the color of Amyunasa, the December god, and first of all the lunar gods to rise from the primordial waters, from which all things were created and to which all things ultimately returned. It was a color of both life and death, a color of divinity and mystery. Perhaps the creature from the road was not a demon at all, but an emissary, sent by Amyunasa, for some purpose unfathomable to Miuko's feeble human mind. There was the sound of water pouring into the tub, followed by the soft clack-clack of an extra pair of wooden sandals being laid upon the flagstones. But Lido had known what she was, Xiaoha, and he was sure she was a demon. More than that. She could not deny the malevolence she'd felt emanating from the creature on the old road, that ominous chill. If this was indeed a curse, she'd have to get rid of it immediately. A few murmured incantations, some burning herbs, perhaps a soak, like a soiled rag, and then she would be demon-free. She could return to being Miuko, daughter of the Otori, and girl of few adventures. Strangely, this thought did not fill her with relief. "Get in when the water is warm enough. We'll talk after. I have much to tell you," her father said, kissing her on the crown of her head. He made a face, wiping at his mouth. "Pah, you're filthy." "Ha!" With some of her usual pluck, Miuko called after him as he limped towards the kitchen. "Now I'll be able to scare off suitors without even opening my mouth." Waving her off, her father muttered something she could not hear. Alone in the bath, she sat cross-legged on the floor to examine the bottom of her foot. The curse was still there, among the dirt and scratches. Now that she had time to study it, she thought it looked something like a kiss. With a yawn, she lay down upon the worn floorboards to wait for the water to heat. She would tell her father about the curse as soon as she'd cleaned and dressed. It wouldn't take long, and there would be no harm in keeping the secret a half hour longer. Miuko did not remember closing her eyes, but before she knew it, sleep had overtaken her, swift as the Doro on his steed. Her dreams, however, were no respite, for they churned with images of priests, torches, chanting, the oil slick of panic, and something else she could not name but only felt, behind the eyes and under the skin, cold and murderous. She sat up, tasting smoke upon the air, too thick and foul to have come from the little blaze beneath the bathtub. Something else, something big, something near, was burning.